deadline in December.
Okay. Okay, it is 5:15 on Monday, January 26th, so I'll call to order this meeting of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission. The first item on the agenda is the election of officers. This was tabled from the December 22nd, 2025 meeting. So we have the positions for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So currently I'm obviously the chair, Katie is vice chair, and Allie is secretary. Allie is done with her service to the commission. So discussion about that at all?
Still feel like well, how many people are we missing? One, Leahy.
3.
Okay.
And there was no discussion.
No, because
previously.
we had such a limited attendance last time.
Mm-hmm.
We just felt like it wasn't appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you typically
Yeah, I mean,
take volunteers.
yeah, I'm happy to continue to serve as chair if you guys are interested in that. If somebody else is interested, obviously that's completely fine with me as well. So we've kind of always done like, are you interested in continuing on in the position? Obviously, we don't have a secretary, so we'd have to find somebody interested in that position. But yeah, that's kind of how it generally works.
to take motions
Yes.
to nominate.
Yep.
Well, you have something.
And just
Go for it.
housekeeping rules. Do each one separately. And then you do have to call for extra nominations at least 3 times after you've made the motion. And then you can approve or deny that motion after it's done. So go through each one separately.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I make a motion to nominate Kristen Springer to be chair.
I second that nomination.
Do we have any other nominations for chair? Hearing none. One more time. Do we have any other nominations for chair? Third time, any other nominations for chair? All right, with that, I'll approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. On to vice chair.
I'm willing to continue on as vice chair. But I'm also willing to let someone else take that role if they would like to give it a try.
Any thoughts? Anybody?
I motion to nominate Katie as vice chair. I'll second.
Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? So all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Katie will continue on as vice chair for this year. And then the third position is secretary. Allie Lee served as secretary previous to this. She is actually done with the commission now, so you would need somebody else to be the secretary. Does anybody have a wish to do this?
It's because I have the pen now.
That's fine. I mean, and that could be something we could table for the next meeting, just because we'll have more people there. So if we could table that one to the next meeting and then see if there's anybody else who had a desire to be secretary. It's really easy. I've done it before.
No volunteers.
No volunteers.
I'm happy to be interim.
Do we have a motion to table that?
So
I-
move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. That motion passes. We'll table that till the next meeting. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the 12/22 meeting, which are attached. Just give you a minute to review it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns about those minutes. Any comments or questions at all? And as you guys get through it, when you get done, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that motion? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
All those minutes are approved. Then we have our budget report. So we have the 2025 budget report review, and then we have the 2026, and they are both attached. And I believe all of the expenses from 2025 should have posted on the 2025 budget at this point. So we use about 56% of our budget in 2025. And then our budget for 2026 is $9,000, and that's attached, and we haven't used any of it yet because it's only the 26th of January. Any questions or comments on those? Okay, we need no motion for that. So then we're down to the events committee. So the Human Rights Award. So we did extend the nomination deadline that was approved the last meeting. So it was extended to January 23rd. And we do have 5 nominations for the HR award this year, and they are all attached. I don't know if you guys had time to look over them beforehand, or we can just review them separately. So the first one is for First Choice Pregnancy Services. And that is attached. Second is for Ivy House, which is the crisis nursery. Third is for Allie Gibbs, an individual. Fourth is for the Grand Center for Arts and Culture. And then the fifth is for Betty Euling. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, so I am okay. Apologies if I'm not. And she's also an individual.
If the individual nominations are short, would you mind reading those?
Yeah, absolutely. I can read all of them. I
Sure.
just kind of wanted to summarize. So I'll just go through all 4 of them, or all 5 of them, sorry. So first one is First Choice Pregnancy Services. So that was submitted by Lori Schmidt. She nominated First Choice Pregnancy Services because it exists and works to support women and families choosing life for their children. The most important human right is the right to life. No other rights exist if one is not alive to pursue their dreams, education, career, family, happiness, and more. The least protected class is the unborn, and helping women choose life for their babies preserves the family and the advancement of all human rights. An unexpected pregnancy is often met with shock, joy, fear, lack of support, and more. First Choice Pregnancy Services offers a safe place for women and families to find answers to questions about pregnancy, abortion, parenting, relationships, and so many other subjects that come up in the lives of women and families. The staff and volunteers meet the clients where they are in life with no judgment on current or previous decisions. They are foot washers. First Choice Pregnancy Service has served individuals and families in Brown County and surrounding communities for 15 years. In 2009, a group of concerned citizens gathered information from a report from the Minnesota State Legislature and saw that there had been a 77% increase in abortions in Brown County from 2007 to 2008. There was no pregnancy resource center within 30 miles of New Ulm and none within 60 miles offering limited obstetrical ultrasounds for the confirmation of pregnancy. A plan was developed to open a pregnancy resource center in New Ulm offering free services to women and their families before, during, and after pregnancy. First Choice Pregnancy Services opened in 2010. FCPS has continued to grow by adding programs and serving more people. In 2024, FCPS served 176 clients, performed 57 ultrasounds, 49 pregnancy tests, and handed out thousands of diapers and assisted families by welcoming 35 new babies. In 2025, staff and volunteers have already served over 200 individuals, 18% of the population. FCPS serves are Hispanic and 10% are African American. Clients may be single, female-headed households, non-binary individuals, unmarried, married, or same-sex couples. Services are not based on income. Any female interested in learning more about fertility or seeking pregnancy tests is welcome at FCPS. All services are free. Before birth pregnancy tests, limited OB ultrasounds, STI tests, relationship training, fertility, educational, medical management. During pregnancy, prenatal and pregnancy education lessons, childbirth classes, mentoring, material assistance, and referrals. After pregnancy, Mom Talk Tuesday, mom group parenting classes, continuing mentoring and referrals, daddy boot camp, material assistance. First Choice Pregnancy Services supported by individual donors, various churches, and fundraising efforts by the staff, board of directors, and volunteers. Approximately $20,000 of the annual budget goes towards baby supplies each year. Women and families facing unexpected pregnancies often consider abortion when their finances are strained. This is one way FCPS can support families to choose life by offering basic supplies and financial assistance. Families are allowed emergency assistance once a month. Otherwise, clients earn their items by completing educational lessons, attending health appointments, meeting with a mental health counselor. FCPS empowers families to earn the items they need and become better parents in the process. FCPS partners with other nonprofit organizations in New Ulm, Brown County, Numas House, Ivy House, local schools, and the New Ulm Medical Center. When New Ulm Medical Center ceased offering prenatal classes, FCPS staff stepped in to provide the necessary class with NUMC physicians joining the class to answer questions. FCPS is a valuable member of the community and participates in the Health and Wellness Expo, Community Baby Shower, National Night Out festivities, and Welcome to New Ulm event in the fall. First Choice Pregnancy Services is blessed to have many generous and like-minded individuals who support the women and their families being served on a daily basis. So that's that one. Second one is for Ivy House. So that was submitted by Allie Gibbs. And she nominated Ivy House as a 24/7 crisis nursery. Ivy House is bettering the lives of children in our community and beyond. The children they serve belong to a protected class not only due to their age, but also often due to public assistance status, familial status, race, and sometimes more. Ivy House provides a welcoming and safe environment for all and works to evolve with the best practices. The Ivy House administration is always looking for ways to support their program participants beyond just basic needs. They show children joy and love while they're there and after they leave too. And we have one nomination for Allie Gibbs. So that was submitted by Jamie Fay. She nominated Allie Gibbs. Allie is someone who is always fighting for the rights of others. She helps people to see what they wouldn't normally see and proudly stands up for people who need it. Allie is active in the community for the cause of equity and inclusion and weaves it into everyday conversations she has on a regular basis. Allie makes me a better person every day and is well deserving of this award. And then the Grand Center. That was submitted by Jenny Walters. She nominated the Grand Center for Arts and Culture because I would like to nominate the Grand Center for Arts and Culture for this award. They are the only organization in town that I've ever seen with a cultural equity statement, which is, I believe, attached if you click on it. They openly, and I can do that in a minute. They openly acknowledge systems of power and oppression against particular groups and of individuals and actively work to provide programming and showcase arts and culture that bring to light and fights against those systems of power and oppression. In their programming, they are extraordinary. See if I can get that to open. And it won't let me open it. It's a
There is
restricted
another
site.
page, too.
Oh, there. Oh, sorry. Got ahead of myself. They are extraordinarily welcoming to all individuals. Each week they provide live music in the cabaret that is sometimes not the typical live music heard around town, and they do not charge the public to attend these performances. The artists featured in their gallery and the artists and the residents are a wide variety of backgrounds, again providing a unique experience and added benefit to our community. Because of their mission and actions, the Grand Center for Arts and Culture is a perfect fit for this award. And I cannot open their cultural equity statement. It's restricted. So should have checked that. And then the last one is for Betty Euling, and it was sent by Eileen Byrek, and she nominated Betty. I nominate Betty Euling for this Human Rights Award. Betty dedicated her position as ECFE coordinator for District 88 for the betterment of every young child in this community, as well as their whole family. She created educational opportunities to strengthen the well-being of humans from birth through parenthood. She gave time as a district human rights office, as well as authentically always demonstrating great respect for the equal human rights for her employees. Please consider Betty's lifelong work for our children. So those are our 5 nominations. So it's awesome to get so many. That's the most I've seen in a while. So that's really, it's really good. What we've done in the past is we've brought them to the meeting, and then the next meeting we will have a vote. Like we can all vote on paper and then decide who will receive the award. Do we have further discussion or questions on the human rights nominations or award?
Well, as I was saying before the meeting started, it's good. I think this proves the point that we were making that December is probably not the best time for the deadline for submission. So I'm glad that extending it longer, opened it up to more nominations. So
We'll definitely have
I think going forward.
I believe I found the statement on the grant. Our mission to enrich community life through arts and cultural education and experience to support local artists by offering opportunities to develop and demonstrate their artistry. And, there's more. Statement on cultural equity. Access, diversity, equity, and inclusion to support arts and culture for all at the Grand and in New Ulm. We believe that fulfilling our mission includes ensuring all artists and community members are made welcome and provides opportunities in our spaces. As such, the Grand commits to championing internal policies and practices of cultural equity that empowers a just, inclusive, equitable organization and community.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comments? I think that's a really good point to remember for the next one, that the holidays are not a good time. Because look, I mean, that we got 5 is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, January, probably maybe that same time next year.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, if nothing else on that, we will bring that to the next meeting and we'll vote and then pick a nominee. And then Education Committee. So Chris Dalton is here to discuss issues raised during the vision impairment session of the Living Without Limits series. Welcome.
Thank you, Commission President, Commissioners. Just wanted to kind of give a quick update on some of the items there and kind of a discussion on how to move forward with some of the other items, just as how to keep them moving forward. So kind of going down the list is how I received them. More park and rec and or community organization activities. For something like that, Joey would be open to having discussion, whether it's him coming here or you at another meeting kind of discussing what you think those ideas to be, and then a small, no more than 2 of you meeting with Joey to kind of discuss and go over those items, and then you can bring them back to the commission and Joey could be present at that. I think would probably be the best course of action for something like that. A lot of that probably doesn't need council approval just because it's more day-to-day operation kind of things, at least for the activity portion. If there's something in there that needs to go to council, we'll bring it to council. But I think just making the recommendation to Joey, I think would be the best way to move forward with park and rec activities.
Can I ask
go
a
ahead.
clarifying
Yes.
question? So when you're talking about meeting with Joey, is that just to initiate the process? Because I don't think that we're probably equipped to make any specific recommendations. So can you
So-
just tell me more?
So meeting with Joey, I mean, I would have maybe at your next meeting, putting that on so you as a group can have a discussion as far as what items you would like to kind of bring forward, and then kind of bring some suggestions to him, and then have him kind of vet some of those suggestions and maybe look at other options. Because again, the general information we got was, for more inclusive park and rec activities, what would that entail?
Yeah.
In your mind, what activities would you like to be included? I can say when we look at upgrading our park and rec equipment, that's taken into account as we update. So as parks get refreshes, they do have more inclusive equipment. But if you're looking at specific, like, let's say after school activities or park and rec activities,
Yes.
that'd be something. If you have ideas, brainstorm and then bring those forward, stuff we can look at.
I have a question.
Yes.
Was that geared towards adults, older youth, or younger kids? I mean, it was kind of across the board that they need more activities?
I think
or
Yeah,
what age level?
Yeah, it was, I think that came up from our young contributor on the panel, that
Okay.
there's adaptive rehabilitation services that does a lot of things with young adults, older teens and young adults, but there really isn't anything for children
Okay.
that is like inclusive across different disabilities. So I think that was, as I recall, from the panel, what was meant by that statement.
Perfect. There's no more questions on that. I want to move down to voice options for our automated lines. So I did have IT look at that. Currently, our phone system doesn't have that option or have an option for that. So IT is looking at a third-party solution. If we do get a third-party solution, our phone operator doesn't support that. So if something happens, there'll be issues, but nothing we probably can't overcome. So looking at something probably in 2028 because it wasn't budgeted. So we'll do the research this year, potentially look at putting it in the budget if we can find a compatible software, and then we can get that in for 2020, the 2028 budget, or no, 2027 budget, 2027. So adjusting the audible volumes on the crosswalks, our engineer contacted MnDOT. It is currently at the loudest volume setting. And they don't, there's not an option other than what's currently there. So I'm assuming as newer technology comes through, maybe that'll go up and we pass that information along to MnDOT, that we have gotten feedback that not 100% audible, or, for some. So I'm assuming as they improve, that'll get updated. But if it's still an issue, we can keep on bringing that issue up to MnDOT. But as of right now, it's at the loudest setting.
I wonder, Carl, if that has been a concern. And I wonder if some of the reason that it's maybe more of an issue in New Ulm is because we have a highway with big rigs going through town and idle, stopped at a stoplight that you may not have at a audible and other.
You're absolutely right. The biggest issue intersection for me traveling is Center Street. The truck traffic is loud and idling is loud, and walking down the sidewalk to the intersection, when it's a heavy traffic day, it's difficult to hear that audible signal.
Yep.
But I understand that if it's at the loudest setting,
Yeah. I mean, we can try and still work with MnDOT. I mean, I've heard it where it's blaring in my ears in other cities, and I don't know where they have the speakers or if they have multiple ones. But we can continue to look at it. But as of right now, that's currently where that item would sit. Including adaptive guides for New Ulm events, specifically for food trucks at festivities like Bavarian Blast and Oktoberfest. We can do the research on our end and get you a list of the organizers for those events, so you can kind of put together that recommendation. If you do need to get in front of their boards, we'd be happy to assist you with that as well. While we allow them to do their events, sometimes on city properties, it's really their event and would be an expense to them to potentially do something like that. So meeting with them would be the best way. We can get you a list of those contact information so you can reach out.
Yeah, I think that if you didn't, I don't know if you saw the video, but of the panel, but it was very interesting. Like, you wouldn't think about, if there's a bunch of food trucks, how do you know what they have on their menu or what food trucks are even there, and all of those things we take for granted when we can easily see. And navigating around, I'm thinking about how hard it is to navigate down Center Street during Oktoberfest as a sighted person. So, yeah.
And then I missed this portion in the video where increasing options for transportation outside New Ulm. I don't know where you would start that one outside of looking at Ubers and Lyfts and things like that. We do allow Uber and Lyft, in the city. I think on the city side of things, getting the Herman Express, getting people to and from hospital inside the town is kind of our main focus. But looking at Heartland, I know they travel throughout the county, and that's still available. And with Herman Express, they're actually more available because people are taking Herman Express instead of the, for lack of a better term, dial a ride. And Herman Express is a little bit cheaper. So, I'd be happy to continue dialogue with that. If you have specific options or something that you'd like to.
I think it was around if I want to go to the River Hills Mall in Mankato, if the Heartland Express only goes to the end of Brown County, well, we're at the end of Brown County. So I think it was just that, having more access to even just be independent.
Okay.
I think that was the specific example that was given. I think Monica maybe
I think it's good to keep it on your radar
Yeah,
too. Understanding that you guys only have purview of the city, but just if something would come up, that would be something to keep in your back pocket of if we could work with the county or a larger group, that's something.
Okay. No, perfect. Community education regarding pedestrian right of way. I mean, if you have anything you want to do, a stuffer that you want to put in our utility bills, be more than happy. I know we did, do the zero tolerance, which is again pedestrian safety. We'd be more than happy to potentially host something like that. And it should be fairly easy. So no concerns, just open dialogue, of how you want to do that, and really what you're looking for on the pedestrian right of way kind of things. But that's something we could do, can assist you with. Adjusting the curb levels downtown. That's a fun one. Will be doable at some point in the future. Absolutely. So we did get a couple calls on this last year or the year before, and we ended up putting out the bumper strips out in the downtown, kind of as a pilot project to see if it will work. I can tell you one of them is already ripped off from snow blowing, so that's been fun. But they were just glued down at that point as a kind of, let's go stopgap, to see if it works. And Carl, if you want to chime in, if you've been able to notice them as you're walking through downtown. So that's kind of a stopgap at this point. The issue that we'll have is at least bringing down the sidewalks is a lot of the downtown, they're currently the top of the steam vaults, so can't bring them down. At this point in time is a standalone project, but in the future, we are going to redo the entire downtown streetscape, and that'll be the time that we'll do all the major improvements, whether it's bringing down curbs, whether it's, installing actual, the bumps in there, correctly, as it were, and making those improvements at that time. I would say it's probably within the next 5 to 10 years that'll come to fruition. But again, happy to work with you, Carl, you as well, to see what those improvements. That's going to be a whole community project, and a huge undertaking, because I think there'll be big changes to that streetscape and everything down there when it finally happens.
I think one of the issues as well is the uniformity
Okay.
throughout the community. Projects happen at different times in different neighborhoods and downtown, and there isn't really much uniformity. I mean, they all seem to have a different slope, the pedestrian ramp ends differently in some places as opposed to others. In some places there's the bumps, other places there's not. So it's just a matter of getting used to knowing that there's going to be less consistency than would be something that would be good, for someone with no sight that's not used to that sort of thing, walking in different neighborhoods.
And I can have the city engineer put together, I would say an email that I can forward to everyone on the commission, because that is part of the compliance that we have, is the ADA compliance for our sidewalks in neighborhoods. And eventually they will all get to a point, but it's when we're doing the street project and stuff and doing a reconstruct to do them. And I can kind of get you a timeline, what's been done, where we're still going. I know downtown is on that list for us to do as well. But again, happy to have that open dialogue, about stuff. If there's very specific intersections and or walkways that you feel are a little more, let's go, dangerous and or not, feel free to email me those, and we can take a look at those, and we can let you know where they are on the schedule to potentially fix at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was the last time. I think that was the last.
Great.
That was and then the last one, enforcement of hedges hanging over the sidewalks. We currently do that on a complaint basis. Again, if there's very specific ones, let us know and we'll go out, right then and there. And they have 7 days to fix it. I know there was one on Fifth and Franklin that had a pine tree that was kind of hanging over. They got their notice to take care of that and trim that up. So again, if you see something, or you just let us know and we'll take care of it. We'll send them the notice.
Do they just contact the city, just call city,
Yeah.
your office? Or?
Yeah, they can call my office. Usually, it'll be the engineering department is where they would go, because that's where the letter will come from, the engineering department. But if they contact me, and they just give me all the information, I can send it to them as well.
Thank you. We appreciate you going through the list, and I think we learned so much from that session, and it's, it's not for lack of like caring, or sometimes you just don't know what you don't know until you learn it, and then we can just, some things take time and some things we can do right away. So appreciate the cooperation and
Yeah.
education.
And then if you have any follow-up questions, anything that comes up, you have my contact information. Feel free to reach out.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to other business.
What do we want to talk about?
Oh.
Education committee. I do have an
Yeah,
update.
if you have an
So-
update on the next Living Without
Yep,
Limits
I got
series.
some dates worked out at the
Perfect.
library, and I sent out the inquiries, and I've got panelists, and then one of the panelists can't make it for a couple months. Sounds like she's expecting, so that's
Good.
super exciting. So I'm wondering if maybe we could swap in the autism
Yeah.
one instead. And so I think I might need a couple more people. I think there were a couple people identified, but maybe if you have suggestions, I had to go back through my email and kind of re-look at them, but maybe you could send them to Lisa Housel,
Okay.
the new ones. I feel like you had one.
I think I
I
did.
think you had
I'll
one
look back.
too. But yeah, if you don't mind looking back
Yeah.
again, just because it's now buried so far
Yeah.
deep in my email, and I'll look. But if that's okay, if we just kind of swap the plan, because had it all ready to go.
Okay.
Easy when you're ready to implement
It's a really
that
good
one.
reason.
Yeah.
It's a really good reason for being busy, but
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody has any other suggestions for somebody who might be wanting to be on the panel for autism, you can also reach out. It doesn't have to be somebody that was suggested before, but
yep.
absolutely. Get those to Lisa.
And I will re-look at some dates because, yeah.
That's too bad. But it's good for them.
Yes.
Family, certainly.
Yes.
So other business, Mayor Kathleen Becker is going to share information that she received while attending the National League of Cities conference regarding leading with dignity.
Well, I found it rather, I'm going to pass some information out for you to take a look at while I'm talking about this. But what I found rather disappointing for our society, that at a national level, leadership has opportunity to attend sessions on learning how to agree or disagree with dignity. And there was more than one session on that topic. And I'm just going to read through the intro paragraph here. The title is Building Skills for Dignified Disagreement. And the paragraph is, honoring someone's dignity can be difficult, especially when situations get heated. Follow these steps when stress arises, and join the movement with others working to ease divisions, prevent violence, and solve problems by choosing dignity over contempt. I will read the 6 suggestions. I won't get into the detail on those, and then also on the other side, it has rankings of your feelings, one being the worst, and of course, number 8 being the best. So they suggest to be curious, not furious, to regulate and then debate, to listen to understand, not to respond, to challenge ideas, but not to attack people, to acknowledge knowledge, build up rather than tear down. And again, I reiterate, to be adults, leaders, elected officials attending sessions on how to serve and to interact with people with dignity. On the backside, I'll just share number 1 being the worst of situations, and that is to say that they're not even human It's our moral duty to destroy them before they destroy us. And we were given different situations, case studies, and then to rank them 1 through 8. And none of them reached an 8, but we did get some that we debated between a 5 and a 6 or a 6 and a 7. So number 1, and then number 8 is each of us is born with inherent worth. So we treat everyone with dignity no matter what. And this all just resonated with me. The entire room was euphoric when they were listening to the speakers and giving examples. And they had a second session the following day, which I also participated in. And then there was a third session, and that had to do with those of us who are candidates running for office, and again, to be a disagree better candidate. And then reversely, they had be a disagree better leader. And like I said, it's unfortunate in our society that at where we're at, and we're so sophisticated with animation, robotics, everything that's going on in our society, and yet in human relations, we seem to have basically lost it. And I'm hoping that we can find our way, and wanted to share this information with you, being a Human Rights Commission, that I see every piece of this information that they share with us an important way to learn how to disagree and have respect and dignity for others. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Very, very good information. I'm just curious, what would be an example of like a case study that they gave you that you ranked?
Oh, I
Do you
wish I would have
recall?
brought it with
Yeah.
you, but they were rather lengthy
Yeah,
because we were
yeah.
broke up into groups and we had to discuss them. But basically, let's say that somebody who came with an issue, like we were just talking about, I guess not the conversation here, but we were talking about an individual that there's two different opinions about remedying a situation. And on this side, somebody in leadership, basically, we don't have it in our budget, it's not relevant, like they didn't matter. And it just cutting off the conversation and saying, basically wanting to move the agenda forward.
Sure.
And what would you do in that situation if you were the leader in the room sitting at this table? And would you ask the chair to reconsider that and to give some more dialogue to that issue? So just dismissing a situation or an ask. And of course, understanding and pausing and saying, but where did this come from, and try to process it. And that's what this is all about.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, very good.
Who are the intended, or who are the attendees, I guess, for this conference? Sounds really interesting. Is it?
This was the National League of Cities, and so the city manager, the city council president, and two of us, mayor and then a council person, all attended it, and that's who it's for. But can be provided, to really any situation in leadership. And there you can get some more information and kind of poke around at their website to see if there's something that would be relevant as far as a citywide opportunity here.
Yeah, I think it's really good information, just considering, like you said, how polarized we are right now, and we seem to have difficulty communicating between sides. So this is, something definitely to consider. It does really resonate, even when you just kind of read through the different levels. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to present that information.
Okay. Next, we have the legislative update. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring forward? Okay, hearing none. City Council Liaison, that's Carl from January to March. Do you have anything, Carl, to update us?
I wasn't able to give a listen to the council meetings themselves, but didn't hear anything in the agendas that when I listened to them, that jumped out at me. So I would say, unless Mayor Backer has something that she would think was relevant to that, I don't have anything for January.
Thank you.
I don't have anything relevant, but I think the addendum item may update us with some information that might be relative.
All right, so the date of our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, February 23rd. As the mayor mentioned, we do have an addendum.
Adjourn though?
Don't adjourn. Don't adjourn.
Don't adjourn.
Motion.
Got it. Okay.
Mo-
Sorry.
motion.
So we make a motion to,
Suspend the Roberts.
okay, I will make a motion to suspend the adjournment and move to our addendum item.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion on that? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. So that passes. So I'll move to our addendum. So we added this addendum, just immigration enforcement in the New Ulm area, just with everything that's going on, realizing that we're a city council, not a state council, but just wanted to discuss. And I see Commander Borchardt's here too. So if you have updates, that would be great.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name is Dave Borchert. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of New Ulm. And I was just aware of the addendum, so I just prepared some notes, just probably start the conversation.
Absolutely.
So with your permission, I'll just start off by saying that as far as we know, in New Ulm, we haven't had any ICE enforcement regarding this recent campaign. I did have a report that they were in the city but they were at the Quick Trip on the north side, and they literally they saw them they were grabbing they looked like potato chips and snacks and stuff, and they literally drove out of town. So I think they had just stopped, fueled up, and literally went to some other enforcement campaign. We haven't been in contact with them. They're not required to contact us. Normally, usually, in other years, that's somewhat, not if they're stopping at Quick Trip, but I mean, if they're doing an enforcement campaign, generally they'll contact local law enforcement, usually a week in advance, but this is somewhat of a unique situation. But we, again, just to clarify that, we haven't had anything to my knowledge in New Ulm. In Brown County, yes, but not New Ulm. So just as far as ICE, they are a federal law enforcement agency. So we can't interfere with their legal process if they're so they're in charge of immigration enforcement. We can't so even at as far as City of New Ulm, City of Minneapolis, the Sheriff's Office, the State Patrol, state agencies, we can't enforce immigration. Only the federal government can. And that's nothing new. That's at least been in place as long as I've been a peace officer, for 30 years. So if we would interfere, and this comes up, and that's why I just wanted to, if we're anticipating potential discussion points, if we would interfere with them doing immigration enforcement, it would be obstructing a legal process. It's the same if they would interfere with us if we were doing on the side of the road doing a DUI enforcement, a DWI enforcement, or something related to that, responding to a domestic assault at some residence, and they would stop us. It would be the same deal. We have jurisdiction in this town, so do they, because they're a federal agency. They have jurisdiction in basically the entire nation, including territories. We have jurisdiction in New Ulm, but we also have a state license, so we can do enforcement outside of New Ulm if it has something to do essentially with the city of New Ulm in some capacity. But we can't leave the state, just to kind of cover that. So jurisdiction is jurisdiction, lawful authority. If we would find them, catch them committing a crime, we would investigate it like any other person. Nobody's above the law. And if we needed to make an arrest, we would. I mean, from my experience, I've been involved with arresting another law enforcement officer, but it was when they're off duty, and it was like a DWI, something like that. But again, nobody's above the law. If it's a gross misdemeanor or a felony, ultimately my arrest or whatever my findings are get forwarded to the appropriate prosecuting attorney. If it's a gross misdemeanor or a felony, that's the county attorney. And if it's a misdemeanor, that's the city attorney, and that's by state statute. That's just who has the lawful authority. I think as far as starters, I think that probably kind of explains our position, and I'm certainly willing to answer any questions or comments, address any comments.
I have a question about, I think where it sometimes comes up about calling local police is just if people are unsure that the person that's trying to get them to go with them or do something is actually law enforcement because the face coverings, the, lack of uniforms, the lack of warrant, some of those things. And so how do you know if they're actually law enforcement or are they,
Right.
some couple of guys? I don't know. So I think that's some of the questions I've seen about when can law enforcement get involved. I mean, can you come to a scene and establish that those officers are indeed officers? Do you respond to those calls? I mean, that's not obstruction per se, right?
That's a good question. So that's a very good example. Yes, we would encourage people to contact us. We can verify that they're in fact legitimate ICE, or another federal agency for that
Right,
matter.
yeah.
Or just law enforcement in general. Sometimes even like undercover officers, generally at the state level or lower. I mean, I'm not wearing a uniform today, but I'm clearly wearing a badge. I
You don't have a
any
mask.
face mask
Yeah.
on or anything like that. But we identify, there's rules that we follow on that. We're not federal agents though. I mean, the feds, they kind of, when they're doing, they answer to the federal government is essentially what happens. But again, that's a very good point. And actually, the case in Sleepy Eye, there was a very similar situation that came up. And there was someone knocking on the door, and they were afraid that these kids didn't know what to do. So they called local law enforcement. They said, "We're scared. We think this is ICE. We don't know who this is." And local law enforcement responded, and they handled the situation, and everything went fine. In fact, later in that situation, ICE left. There was no detainer, nothing. Now again, they're not speaking. I wasn't there, but I do know that occurred that way, and we certainly would follow up on that, and we have every right to do that.
Okay.
To make sure, is this really a law enforcement agent?
Right. Do you have the authority to ask about a warrant? I mean, one of the things we
Yep.
keep hearing about is administrative versus judicial warrants, and not necessarily having the name of the person. Some of these door-to-door operations, which would also be a good time for somebody to be an impersonator. And,
Right.
not here in New Ulm, but
Yeah, we would have every right to ask that. Certainly the person does as well. Sometimes
Yes.
they're nervous.
correct.
And they have to present basically their warrant. Now, the administrative warrant doesn't give you access to the residents. An administrative warrant, like for example, I'll just give an example. An example of an administrative warrant would be if I'm looking for someone, and it's like, okay, I know, I'll just make up a name, Joe Schmo was involved in this, and I have probable cause to believe that they're involved with this situation. I think they're a flight risk, or I think they're dangerous to society, or I think that they're going to keep offending. They're on and sometimes this happens like, they're on a one-person burglary spree, and they're just not stopping for whatever reason. So an example of that would be, administratively, I have the ability to basically send out a teletype that's saying, I, Dave Borkert, This is my license. I'm the chief of police for the city of New Ulm. My license, peace officer's license is 11992, and I'm asking law enforcement, if you have contact with this individual, to arrest them. And, I'll take care of transport and so on and so forth. We work that out with the sheriff's office. And any peace officer essentially would have that responsibility. That would be an example of an administrative function. The officer can't be in trouble for not doing it, but they have the authority under that peace officer. Administrative warrants function the very same way. So it's administrative, meaning it's signed by basically another peace officer. And federally, that's what they are. They're peace officers. They're law enforcement agents. They're not judges. So that makes it administrative. And they've been doing these administrative warrants and saying, okay, I'm signing this, like the supervisor signing this and saying we have a warrant here. Well, it's an administrative warrant, but that's not the same as signed by a judge. So if it's signed by a state judge, and all of our judges, when we say a county judge, like Judge Doherty, that's a state judge. He is assigned to Brown County, but he's 5th Judicial District. He's a state judge. It has to be signed by a judge or a federal magistrate. And, we have this come up. So when they talk about, maybe just to open it a little bit more, when they talk, you hear a lot about sanctuary cities and counties and so on and so forth. It's kind of make-believe. I mean, the sanctuary, so if I arrest someone, as far as the jail function, I know I'm sounding like a real bureaucrat now, but when I arrest someone, the city of New Ulm or the city of Minneapolis or city of St. Paul, doesn't matter how big you are, you can't have a jail. The counties are responsible for the jails. That's just by state statute. So the sheriff basically, so if I arrest someone, I take him to jail, and it's like, I'm arresting him as a peace officer. It's for DWI or it's for whatever, burglary. And I take him to jail. At that point, that's up to the sheriff, and the sheriff is basically reporting to the Department of Corrections and saying, we're following all these rules. The person's got this, that, and the other thing. They get their meal, they get their phone call, they get this, that, and the other thing. It's the same for anything, like even with federal, like when we're talking about a state jail, when we're talking about a county jail. If you arrest, so like in those cases, again, as a state agent, as a state licensed officer, I can't enforce immigration. I covered that. Sometimes there's a detainer on this person. It says this person is undocumented, and there's a detainer. Or sometimes I even find it out when I have a translator or something, and they'll share, or they'll even share. It's like, I'm not here legally. I'm undocumented. I'm responsible to report those findings to the judge, and then generally, because it's considered a flight risk, and then from my experience, they generally double bail. But that's up to the judge. That's not up to me. And then if they have a federal detainer on them, their contact and said, we have this individual in our custody, and they're in for a DWI. Now we can't hold anybody longer than 36 hours without judge basically ordering it, signing off on it. So under the peace officer's authority, we have 36 hours. Federal is 72. Again, I'm sounding like a bureaucrat, but we have to follow the 36 hour. So within that 36 hours, I have to release that person, or again, the judge reviews it and basically signs off and approves it. When we've had the federal detainer, we won't hold them longer than that. So if I have them on a DWI and the judge says, okay, I've set bail, whatever, they're released. We won't hold them 5 minutes longer. But I mean, we're still cooperating with the federal government. We've told them we're not doing, like when they talk about sanctuary, it's like we're putting a cocoon around someone. We're following the rules that have always been established. And again, if they have a federal magistrate that signs off on it, or a local judge, or if they come and pick them up, the individual will be released to them. They just had that happen in Cottonwood County, I think 2 days ago. It's fairly recent. And they said, no, we're too busy. Well, they chose not to do it, so the person's released. But they just said, we're too busy up here in the cities. Again, their choice, but we as the county or the city, we can't hold them longer than that. It's the county holding them because it's a county jail. So I guess not to make it more complicated, but this actually was brought up 4 years ago, if you recall, when they were talking about sanctuary counties and cities. And the sheriffs made a very clarifying point on just kind of what I discussed. We're the sheriff, we have the authority, we can't hold longer than that. That's just the rule.
Yeah.
It sounds complicated.
You actually made it sound much simpler than I feel like.
But yeah.
I feel like you made it more simple to understand, actually.
But-
That makes sense.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of just things being thrown around, and I think just the basic, law and the rules, it's good to hear, this is what happens, and this is what we do, and this is what they do, and this is what we're allowed to do, and this is what they're allowed to do. I think that it makes it a lot more clear, honestly.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll hear them talk a lot about, and this is even historically, they'll say, well, it's 72 hours, we have 72 hours, because they're very well aware of that, because that's federal requirement. So the state of Minnesota, any state, anywhere, they can't take away civil rights from you. So if the federal government says it's 72 hours, the state of Minnesota can't say, yeah, not here, we're going to go with 80. They can't do that because they're taking civil rights away from that person. What they can do is they can go the other way, and in Minnesota, they've said, and this has been a long rule, they said, we're cutting it in half, it's 36 hours. That's just the way it is. Weekends don't count, holidays don't count, day of arrest doesn't count. That's the same with 72 hours. I mean, those exceptions. But we're cutting that in half. You have 36 hours. So you have to have them in front of a judge within 36 hours, or you have to cut them loose. And we've had that. We're just the judge isn't available, whatever the situation is. We confer with our attorneys. And, again, if they're not violent or they're not a flight risk, I mean, we have to follow the rule. It's just that simple. I mean, we have no choice. Does that help as far as answering some questions?
Yeah.
Does that open up any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering where the misconception about what a sanctuary city really is comes from, or a sanctuary state. I don't.
Well, this came up the first, 4 years ago. This was a very hot topic, and again, clarified as far as the Sheriff's Association, again, because the sheriffs are responsible for the jail. Once I've arrested someone or one of my officers, we take them up to jail, it's no longer our,
Right.
I mean, we don't have authority over that because, we don't have a jail and we don't answer to the Department of Corrections. It's a different department. But the sheriffs have to follow the same rules. They're peace officers just like I am. A sheriff is elected, but if the state of Minnesota takes their peace officer's license, they can no longer be a sheriff. It's just that simple.
Okay.
So, we're pretty rule orientated. Anything else by chance that I maybe, went a little bit further than, but I just had wanted to give you kind of the structure of the background.
And I appreciate, so just from personal experience, I know in my job, I've seen a lot of people who are very afraid just because they don't understand, because there's a lot of information, a lot of things they see happening. It's nice to clarify it because there are people who are generally afraid, they're afraid to go outside because they don't understand, they don't understand what the rules are and they don't know what might happen to them. And that's even specifically in this community, I know people who are afraid. So
Yeah.
even though there hasn't been ICE action in the city of New Ulm, there's a lot of rumors flying around, a lot of paranoia, a lot of fear. So just appreciate.
Well, I really felt, and thank you for that, because, we've been working with our community members. And when I say community members, I'm saying community, whether you're a citizen or a resident, you're a community member. I don't have any distinction there. We're here to serve you. And I've had individuals come up and it really felt bad for them. And they said, what other papers do you think we would need? And they showed me, they had their passport and they had their enhanced driver's license. Because they said, they're hearing everything. And I don't know. I don't speak for the federal government, but they're afraid of getting stopped and dragged out of their car and being sent somewhere. And she just says, because of the medication I'm on, because of my health, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Do you think this is enough? And there's like literally a passport. And, and I mean, just thinking that that's happening, that you have that concern in rural Minnesota or anywhere in the United States, but in New Ulm, it
Yeah.
makes, I'm kind of sad by that.
It's definitely happening. I mean, we have parents who are too afraid to pick their kids up from school, too afraid to send their kids to school, too afraid to go to doctor's appointments, too afraid to go to the food shelf. And that is definitely happening in New Ulm. So I don't know what we can do. I mean, I think a lot of it just comes from what's actually been happening to other people in other cities. Not just I'm not saying like it's misinformation. I think it's things that have actually
They're
happened.
actually happening, but
And so they're seeing that, and even if they're not here illegally, but they appear like they could be, some of it is that just our citizens of color that are worried that, they're going to get questioned.
I talked to a lady who has a relative and living up in the cities, and she's a realtor, and she's like literally losing thousands of dollars every week because she's scared to show houses, and she was born here.
Yeah.
I mean, she even has a birth certificate that says, I don't know, Waukegan County or wherever. But I mean, literally a county birth certificate because she was born here. And she just goes, I'm scared. I don't want to deal with the inconvenience. Even if I get, sent somewhere, I've got kids at home. And I mean, and literally losing thousands of dollars from that fear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, there was an interesting story on NPR. I don't know if anybody listened to it, but just the trying to get a girl some supplies to her house.
yeah.
It was like, it took like 5 people because all the people in her like inner ring were all worried, and it was how you can pass
Wow.
that risk on. But this is really helpful. I think I don't want to speak for everybody else. How I see this overlap with the Human Rights Commission is just people not feeling like they can access services, including education, health, public services, all of these things because of what they look like. Not even necessarily their immigration status, but just their appearance. And I don't know if you have any suggestions for the types of conversations we can have with our community. I mean, even not just as a commission, but in
But
general, or what.
Even having like the basic knowledge is
Yeah.
helpful to speak to. Well, this is what they can do. This is what an administrative warrant means. This is what the New Ulm Police Department can do. This is what the county can do. This is what the federal government can do. I mean, that is helpful information as we're having these conversations, I feel like. Not that we can control if somebody breaks those rules, but at least we have the background of, if you're not sure, if somebody's at your door and you're not sure, it's okay to call the police and say, I'm not sure if this person is law enforcement. Can you come verify that?
Yep, you can always call us, and we're here to serve, and we'll certainly respond to them. And like I said, track record, we've done it in Sleepy Eye. Sleepy Eye PD handled, again, very similar situation to that. And when we're talking about, again, immigration, we can't enforce immigration. Because I don't think everybody knows that. But like this, a city police officer or a sheriff or a state trooper, we simply can't do it. That's, today or 30 years ago, we don't have the authority. We're not federal immigration. And because early on in my career, I worked in an area in western Minnesota where we had a large immigrant population. And so they were training us. And I mean, very clearly, even if I examine we used to call it a green card, but when ID card, I don't even have the authority if I'm like, oh, that's a bad one. This looks kind of like any fake ID.
Yeah.
With kids, I've often, with younger people, I've examined a lot of fake IDs. I can take a fake Minnesota ID. I can't take like an immigration ID like that, ever. The only person that can do that would be a federal agent. And generally, kind of like what Cottonwood County has, we'll contact them because we think we're doing our job, we're following up. And they're like, yeah, we just don't have anybody here. Just, there's nothing you can do. And that's kind of the end of it. So, now we've just, with with all the agents, it's just, I think the tension is just so high.
Yeah,
And I don't blame people for being nervous.
definitely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No,
you.
I don't want to cut off the conversation, but it is after 6:15.
Okay.
So,
Sorry. Yeah.
but really
Thank you.
appreciate you coming. Appreciate the information. It was very,
Yeah.
very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do we, all right, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.